Okay, so this is part two. Sorry about that. I ran out of hard drive space. So, so we left off at a line and point. So you'll see here that this these images here are made up of a line as well as point. So they're all dots. Okay, that is showing is authenticity as well. It's making this pack look like it's reminiscent of older, those older sort of botanical illustrations. Okay, so it is showing authenticity by creating that type of illustration method. You could do the same as well in your pack. Same here too on this wave. This is in the illustrated wave, for example, and you'll see that it is using like it's called a letterpress. It's using like a letterpress sort of style of illustration in there. So it's made up of line and dots. Okay. All right, next up we have shape. So obviously we have shape of a rectangle here. We've got shape of this ribbon going across here. Okay, ribbons make a product look as though it's a little bit more upper class as well. We have this shape here, which is a circle with a rectangular base. We have this rounded rectangle here for the logo. We've got this rectangle here and a circle here. So rectangles themselves and circles and things like that, they are there to separate sections of the pack, creating points of interest. You see this first, and you see this later on, okay? Let's look over here. This whole section here, the entire pack, this entire pack here, this side is the nutritional information and stuff like that. So that's in a rectangle as well. This rectangle is serving a purpose, and that is to provide enough contrast between the text as well as the image behind it. Okay, let's look on this side of the pack. And all this one here is just repeating what is on the front. Okay, they could have had some type of recipe there of some sort, but you've got to think about this, is that some phrases are stacked so that they are stacked flat. So this here is serving a purpose, which is to show people what is in this pack if it is stacked flat. Okay, some phrases, especially the ones that the fridge freezers that are at people's houses, they stack these things flat. So it's good to see this, all right, like that. Okay, this side here is another section which has a rectangle showing contrast between the image that's behind it as well to the type. And this is quite interesting that we have a barcode, and they've been able to make the barcode so it is shaped slightly above it. Okay, that actually does pass the barcode people, I think, which is called 3GS. Okay, so this here is the standard barcode, so this thing there, which passes the standards, and they've created a shape of a wave in there at the top, and I think that still passes. Okay, and that's pretty much the pack there for shape. Texture. So we have a lot of texture in this. We've got texture in the fish fillets themselves. We have smooth texture of these areas here that are separated. We've got texture in the basil leaves, and we've got texture in the peppercorns just there. It all creates a feeling of authenticity, of being real. Okay? It is making people see that these fish fillets are crispy. Okay? So it's very important. It's creating a contrast between smooth and texture. The background is showing increased texture. It's like a bit of it's formed as a pattern, actually. Okay. The next one is tone. So where do you see tone in this? Tone is seen in the image itself. So we have the difference between light and dark. All right. So they're the shadows and the light fish fillet there. Cool. And that's pretty much it for tone. We've also got tone in the illustrations in the illustration itself on the pack, you can actually see that where there's a light side and a darker side of those illustrations. You can also see the nice shadows as well that cast across over top of the pattern. We haven't just merely cut out this basil leaf and just plonked it on there. It looks like it has been placed on top of the pack, on top of that pattern, right? But really in Photoshop, they've just added the shadow in Photoshop and place it on top. Okay, I can show you how to do that if you like, if anyone is interested. We've also got this nice authentic sort of parts of those fish fillet crumbling off, which is quite nice as well. Just noticed it just then. Okay, so type is the most important thing here. Obviously, we are using a type which is a compound. It's a combination. The INJ logo is a sans serif typeface. What that shows is that it's showing that it is an older company. Once again, authenticity, showing trust, providing customers with trust. All right, so it's since 1910, they put this in there on purpose to provide customers with the sense of it's a well-established brand, and it's trustworthy. The garbage truck's just about to come past. And the rest of it is a sans serif typeface. Okay, it is without the serifs, though that's a serif there, by the way. Okay, and that is, so that looks like it is a modern pack. It's a modern company. Yes, they're authentic. They've been around for a long time, but they are brand new. They really are pushing quality, and it's a modern pack. Very much a modern pack, right? It's aimed at a mid to high socio audience, socio-economic, actually. Okay. Cool. All right. So next one, design principles. So we have here, this pack looks as though majority of it is balanced. Okay. This here is in the center. It's balanced. This fish fillet here offsets that fish fillet. This fillet snap frozen at sea panel here offsets this section here. It is a balanced product. Okay, same here. This whole section here is balanced. Okay, it is left aligned, yes, but it is balanced. Let's have a look here. Right, this one here is kind of askew a little bit, okay? But we've got this fish fillet here and that fish fillet there showing balance. Okay, we've got this coming down the center. It's on a slope, but it's still centered. This basil offsets that pepper. Okay, and the same goes with this naturally too. All right, cool. You can see that we've already gone through contrast, for example. So we have contrasting in colors, okay, and we have contrasting in texture. Cropping, you'll notice that from the front of the pack, wrapped around the side is the basil leaf, showing continuity of the pack. It's inviting people to look around the pack. Okay, and we've got the repetition here, so we have the cropping of the pattern that is repeated. It's an alternated pattern, and it wraps around as well. Okay, cool. Is it doing it to there too? Yes, it is. It's wrapping around there as well. Does it continue to wrap around? No, right? So the pattern doesn't match up with this side, with from here to here. Okay, so you don't see this fillet in this section there. Okay, cool. But you do see this fish fillet wrapping around that section. Okay, so that is a cropping. We've also got cropping, if you just look at the front face here, we've got cropping here to create interest. Okay, if you just had one fish fillet there, it would be boring. You want something to be more dynamic. Oh, look at this. Oh, beautiful, really nice. And you're invited to look around the pack. Okay? All right. Hierarchy. Obviously, there's a big hierarchy in this. You've got INJ is what original crumb is what I see first, and then INJ as well. Okay? So you might actually see this in terms of the hierarchy, but then there's an inner hierarchy. Okay, so this whole thing's a hierarchy, and then you see the smaller bits, right? So I'll look at original crumb. I understand this is in the fish fillet section, so I'll probably be looking for fish, just to see fish. When I go shopping, I'm a visual person, and I look for the picture on the pack before I start to read. Let's face it, people can't be bothered reading. Okay, that's the reason why I'm showing you the video. All right, figure ground. So figure ground, remember, figure ground is this bit here is the figure, and all the rest of it is the ground, is the background. This fish fillet is the figure compared to the background. Original crumb type is the figure, and that white with texture running through it, by the way, is this. The type is figure, and that white is ground. Figure, ground. Okay, this whole panel is figure, and that is the ground. The white text is the figure, and the blue is the ground. Okay, this is the figure, and that is the ground. But this is the figure, and that is the ground in comparison to it. So it depends on what aspect you're looking at. There's multiple figure grounds in it. Pattern. We've already gone through pattern. There's lots of pattern in there. It is a repeating pattern. It's called an alternating pattern. Please do not confuse this with rhythm in art. It is not rhythm. Rhythm does not exist in VCD. Okay, so please confirm this as being pattern. Proportion. Okay, so proportion is the proportion of the form of the pack. Right, so proportion is that this is a larger size in the front and it's narrower on the side. We also have proportion of the graphics compared to the rest of the pack. Right, so we have this is in proportion to what's in the background. Okay, so this roughly takes up half the proportion of the pack, the front of the face. Okay, scale. Obviously, you can see the scale. I said it before. It shows the scale of the fish fillet. It shows the scale comparing it to the basil leaf as well. That is showing scale. The scale can also be seen between the basil, the peppercorn, as well as the fish fillet. That is showing scale. And that's it in terms of the elements and principles. Okay. And I'll do another one on legalities. Okay, so I'll stop recording this one now.